Hey, Gus, how are you?
Good, D'Anna. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for joining me on the Looking Back podcast.
Well, thank you for inviting me.
Architecture and urban planning are your areas of expertise. Those two things fit right into my research and interests in society and culture and history, even crime. In sociology, we have a lot of theories about people's behavior based on their environment. I love talking to you because it feels like you get a bigger picture of all the things that I'm trying to research, like literally a bird's eye view. So I'm starting to understand better why I like talking to you so much.
Oh, thank you.
I really
I hope I
enjoy
can
it.
help.
Well, I think you can just because I enjoy everyone's different perspective. But we've
Okay.
also lived in the same places now more than once. Our families knew each other when we were in Saudi Arabia, and now we both live in the greater Houston area.
Much
Uh,
greater.
much greater Houston area. So I'm just seizing this opportunity to have you kind of give me your impression of different cities around the world, their architecture, their urban planning, and their lifestyle and how it all fits together.
I can start with the states, like a city like Chicago. Where you find fine architecture, um, well planned city. No dancing buildings, but just fine architecture. So much so that a city like Dubai, you know, they do have fancier buildings and dancing buildings and all. It just doesn't give you the same weight as a city like Chicago. And notice I didn't even mention New York. So Chicago has a special, I don't know, a special architectural and urban planning. Now, in content, if you go to places like Singapore, and if you want to compare Singapore now to Dubai, the reason I always pick on Dubai because Dubai is the newest, and so after Singapore built up and became Singapore a textbook of architectural urban planning, anything anything that relates to the arts. So Dubai came along, and again, this is my opinion, and I try to be a link between the Chicago, the Sullivan buildings of Chicago, the old buildings, and the Singapore, and they started with that, and they have nice planning, but then I think they diverse so much that you're losing the identity. That's again my opinion. Now Singapore, in contrast, you go there and uh, literally, if you're a student of architecture, an architect, or an urban planner, or a regular person that is going there to enjoy it, if you go to any of these, you know, 10, 20, 30-story building, you look down, you see the planning, you see
Really?
like a sketch,
Yes.
and you see everything in its place. You don't you don't have that in Dubai. You do have it, but the thing is, it's not centralized. It's just you can't see it to the point that you see it in Singapore. Okay.
Well, and Singapore is notoriously one of the best planned cities. Isn't a big portion of the city is just amusement parks, isn't it?
To
And
me,
markets and food.
the markets, the food, the entertainment, the restaurants, clubs. You go up to the what's his name? Rushdie. What's his name? Moshe Rushdie, the Israeli architect, had done these three buildings with a mall, and they connected them with a pool. So you go there, and then you look down, and as the sun sets, you'll see the Louis Vuitton and all these pavilions in the water. Just like a Disney movie. You see
Really?
them light up, and you see them, red, and you see the architecture, you see the different materials used, you see the intent of the designer. You can see it like a rose growing out of. As an
Really?
architect, you envy
It's
that.
Absolutely.
like no limitations whatsoever. Even the boats going through and into the inner harbor and leaving out is just textbook. I mean,
It's
you can't say
textbook
anything
like
else.
Disney World, like
But
just
for real,
but for real, just an entertainment city. Where do the people in Singapore live? Like the working class people? Any idea?
no, you live and work. Remember, live and work. It's like it's a small island, so they live and they work in the same street. So that's why you always have people walking around an extremely clean city. You do not want
Oh
to
yeah,
throw anything on.
no,
You don't want to spit.
no,
So it's a clean city, and you'll be walking. And you'll see people walking their dog and then going up to this building. And in the morning, we're going to work because I was there like for 2 weeks. We're going to work kind of sort of I don't know if it's the same people coming down from this building, walking across, going to that building to work.
really.
It's just textbook. I mean,
So
just
if you're gonna
incredible.
live in a city, that is the perfect modern city.
Absolutely. I mean, you do have cars,
Interesting.
you do have everything, but hardly anybody uses I've seen exotic cars, but you usually probably don't need a car. If you're savvy enough, you take the bus, you take metro, and you transfer between here and there, and you go anywhere. No need to park. It's incredible.
Well, and it's on an island, so it can't sprawl out like some
There's no
other
room.
cities. There's no room.
You mean
It's
like
just
Houston?
like Houston. We've discussed that too. Gus, how big is Houston, Texas?
Well, I think with the outskirts of Sugarland and Woodlands, I think 10,000 square miles. You mean Lebanon in comparison is 6,500 square miles? That's
Really?
the city of Houston. That's not the
That's
state.
just, no, that's
That's
just the
massive.
city of Houston. It's massive. And it's not well planned and it's
Oh, no.
miserable to get around. And I can't say the people seem all that happy.
You don't have zoning. That's the problem. We don't have a
Okay.
zoning,
So
which
just
attracts a
no
lot of
zoning.
investors, but you don't have zoning. Do you get what you get?
Any idea on the history of that? Was Houston just meant as a working city on the port with the refineries, and they never prioritized anything
I don't
except
know. I mean,
growth?
they put it out for votes. I mean, I
Really,
don't know, 3 4 times.
really.
Now we do have homeowners associations and all of that, but
Okay.
that controls your neighborhood and that controls that district that you're in. But overall, if you're flying, in a helicopter looking down, it's all over the place. You know,
There isn't even really a specific downtown other
no,
than no.
you
You
get
have the
nods.
nods. Yes,
Yeah,
you've
you
told
get
me
these
before
nods,
about
right?
nods.
I
So
mean,
explain nods.
The Galleria, for example, in Houston, it consists, I mean, about maybe 800,000. I don't know, 1 million people that work there. And remember, I said work there, so number of people that live there, goes down to a quarter maybe because just too expensive to live. So that becomes the not an uptown. It's still a nod away from the downtown. Then within downtown, you've got the downtown, you've got the uptown, you get the midtown, and just like any big city. But then, if you look over, then you got the Greenway Plaza. Now you've got the city center here where I live, and you've got the Sugarland, and you've got the Woodlands, and you've got all these nodes. So you see skylines, disconnect skyline again, disconnect sky. Well, these are the different nodes. So if you go in a top view, you'll see just green patches of concrete, and these are the mini downtowns, the nodes.
And the nods have skyscrapers.
Oh yeah, oh,
Uh,
absolutely. Yeah, I
and
mean,
they
there's
all
nothing
have
to stop you.
no. Well, and they each have their own hospitals and their own office buildings. Seems like the strip malls are often just cookie cutter around the city too.
Yeah, I'm trying to change that.
That
We
is
just need some fresh blood. Oh yeah, we're trying to. We're trying to have, instead of going to strip center, forever and never, go to 2 story, maybe 3 stories, step it back. Have some people, have some character. You'll have a retail at the bottom, maybe entertainment on the second and third floor, or second floor only. Open decks. I know the weather doesn't permit it. But hey, even in Saudi, I mean, we had out of 12 months, we had 4 or 5 months of nice weather. So in Houston would have 4 months.
Yeah. And those 4 months are valuable. And when they're nice, they're really nice. When the weather here is good, it's so good.
I know, absolutely,
Uh,
absolutely.
um, weren't you telling me that that you and other architects are in Houston are trying to engage or employ more of the idea of like city centers, like in old European cities,
Mixed use development.
mixed use developments?
Yes, and that's when you see, you know, where you used to live, you know, off of Katy.
Yes.
What did you have there?
Well, in Cinco Ranch, we had La Centera.
Yeah, La Santera. You know, La
Yes.
Santera is a good example. It's a very nice architecture. It's you know, mid to higher end, and you go in, you shop. You know, you're not, you know, you have 16 to 18 foot ceilings. You walk into a store, and then the store right above it, either retail or restaurants or living.
My
You know,
dentist.
yeah. I mean, so that's when you see a lot of people going there. Why? Just because they're, you know, yearning for it. You know, they don't want to just drive 20 miles, park there and see people enjoying it, and then drive 20 miles back home to nobody's in the street. I mean, I see a couple of people, you know, running once in a while, and that's it. You know, that's sad, because you know that's what society, people watch people.
And
That's right.
some of the greatest cities in the world have plazas,
And that's what the
and
plaza was for. Like the medieval cities, you know, European cities, you see the city square. That's a reason there. You got the city hall, the churches usually, or whatever, and then you see a plaza with water. Or that's when people sit at the plaza, people driving or walking or riding their bikes, watching people, and people watch people watching people. So they park their cars away, they start walking. That's what city centers are doing right now.
well, it makes people friendly. They're sitting out together, having a glass of wine, sharing a coffee. In Greece, they play backgammon.
Oh, yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, you
those
can't
those
walk any street in. I mean, you see the Greeks or the Italians or you know different ethnic groups in New York doing the
Oh, I
same
love it.
thing. You
I love
see,
it.
they brought that character with them, and that's why New York, Chicago, you know, they are working walkable cities. You know, Houston, the Austin is, Dallas in certain places is, but Houston is not. It's a commuter city.
No, it's painful. It's painful everywhere you go. It's a drive. You park, you get out of your car, you get back in your car, you drive to somewhere else, you park, you go into that store. It's exhausting.
It is.
But
Even
European cities are wonderful. They're social and relaxed and entertaining. They always
I mean,
have,
you're gonna enjoy yourself, like you said, Greece. You know, you go to Athens. I mean, I don't know. You don't need to look at the clock. I mean, you just before you know it, it's midnight, past midnight. You're still out. You still haven't done everything you needed to do. You know, you go to the hotel, you sleep. In the morning, you do the same. You go further out. It's just it encourages you. I mean, even colleges here, like University of Houston, where I went. I mean, 42,000, 50,000 people. It comes 5 o'clock. Nobody's there. Why? They all go back as commuter. So a few people that live in the dorms and all of that. I mean, out of 50,000 people, you end up with 1,000. I mean, go to, you know, UT Austin, or you know, Texas A&M or University of Arkansas or wherever. You go to campus, it's a city. People, you know, standing around, talking, going to the cafeteria,
yes.
studying, eating. It's a life.
Is that particularly because the design leads leans into that as opposed to, I mean, is there no quad at the University of Houston where the kids sit around in the middle between all the buildings, or it's just because people just don't live on campus?
Well, you know, again, there are very nice places during the school hours, but then everybody is living with their mom or dad or living in an apartment, you know,
Really?
somewhere down on San Felipe. Then they drive over there. Why? There's no attraction over there. You've got, you know, one, two, three restaurants, maybe, you know, a place where you can get a beer and a hot dog place. I mean,
There's no
just
reason to
compare
be
it to
there.
Austin.
Yeah.
I
Or
mean, come
any,
on.
yeah. most cities have a university area where people are all over the streets and they're there day and night, and there's 24-hour restaurants and famous ice cream.
Absolutely.
Yes, but
When you've
Houston,
got 50,000 people captured audience, why would you let them leave? Do something, out of these 13, 1,400 acres. I don't know how many acres University of Houston. Start making the community closer instead of, spreading out and sprawling out. And, like my son tells me, I mean, I used to do that. Going from College of Architecture to College of Engineering was like 8-minute walk.
sure.
I mean, he said, Dad, if I park in this parking lot, then I got to go to the other. I mean, it's like 20-minute walk. I mean, you got to run between classes. I don't know. It's just
Well, some of
so.
these big universities, there's a bus that takes you
Yeah, but
around.
then you and 50 other thousand people that are standing for that, waiting for that bus. I mean,
And
I don't know how I did it, but in architecture and medicine and I think law, we stayed within that building compound. I mean, I took sociology and I walked over, but then it was in the afternoon after lunch break. But then if I have to, I mean, you were athletic. I mean, you have to go. You gotta sprint to the other class, and you get
yeah.
there, and the door is locked. And sometimes, I mean, we had to learn our lessons. The door locks, 5 minutes
Oh,
after class. So I don't know how kids do it these days, but I think they have these scooters or whatever, but it's just not a friendly thing. I mean, UT Austin, we went there. It's huge, but you go there, they have the compounds where everybody is, and then they go from one building to the other, and then they have their own little areas, and then they have the major areas. They have the avenue. Um, it all starts 50, 60, 70 years ago when we didn't plan it right. See, now you pay the price, and now 45 north, 45 south. I mean, how many years it's been since under construction? 45 years,
oh, sure.
and it's still under
It's
construction.
still under construction.
Why? Because that 10-year plan, they take 5 years to build. That 5 years left over, the 5 years are kind of off by 20%. You got 4 years. What do? Then you do another 10 years. You can't catch your own shadow. That's what is happening with us. We're catching our shadows. We don't have a plan, a 50-year plan. We got 10, 15, 10, 15.
Well, and it wouldn't lend itself to much future either. If you look at European cities, now they're great tourist locations because they have these city squares and because you can walk around or you're near the water or the river or the port. Uh, but, like European cities in downtown don't have big economies anymore, so they can rely on tourism. What's Houston going to do? Like, we've got some museums downtown. The parking is too hard to even get there.
It's a shame, and they are beautiful museums. I mean, when my kids were younger, we used to go to the museums and the children's and I mean, but how many times now, as when they grew up, they go or I go, and how many other people, unless the people live around there, usually when I used to work and design, museums, the developer, which is usually the city or a big donor or something, they said this is not a money maker, but in Europe, they are. But in the States, they're not money makers. They just do them for civic duties. I was wondering, I mean, you go to the Museum of Fine Arts, I mean, you've got hundreds of millions of dollars of artifacts there and whatever. How many times you said, hey, let's go to the museum? Well, I'm not going to drive from you is 80 miles. From me is maybe 11, 20 miles.
Yeah.
Then go find a parking spot and then go there and then boom, they close so early. You know, so it's not catered to us. They're there just because formalities, but they're not catered to us.
No, definitely not.
In New
It's
York,
like,
they are. I mean, you go to the arts, you go to the museum. The whole district is on fire. Chicago is the same thing.
mm-hmm.
But now again, go back to Dubai. No, Dubai, you gotta drive from this knot to that knot, and then you do whatever need to do. In between, there's not much to do.
Well,
Singapore, there's everything to do.
in Dubai, literally in between these nods is kind of like dirt roads and sand drifts,
Just like
massive
Saudi.
construction. Yeah, just like
Yeah, just
Saudi.
like Saudi. You go from here, okay, kids. All right, now we got to Bahrain. Okay, it's not in Saudi. Now we get to Bahrain, we do things, small city. But then you come back to Khubar. Wait, we got to go to Dammam. That's 22 miles away. nothing to do. When you get
Hmm.
there, well, you have a few things to do, cultural things. Then you got to drive back. Yeah, I mean, these are the new cities that want to be. And don't get me wrong, I've been going to Dubai since 1980. So I saw it. I said, what are they doing in the desert? You know, like, what are they doing in the
Excuse me.
desert? My brother-in-law says, oh, we've been doing airports, this, and that. For what? He said, oh, wait, we are going to be, internationally known. And they are. But again, they planned it and they did a great, great, great job. But then if you want to compare that where they want to be, like a Singapore, they're not Singapore, not
Well,
not Chicago, not New York.
the atmosphere when you're in New York City or you're in Chicago, maybe not the outskirts, but if you're in downtown Chicago, it's homey and it's comfortable and it just lends itself to walking and to
Absolutely.
enjoying. But some cities are not like that. Not at all.
Again, history of it. From the 1900s, I mean, they started that way. It's not like you come, to what is it, 23 years ago, and you do a metropolis
No,
like
no.
Dubai. They're doing great, but then now they have to fill in all these blanks to do that, and that's another 50 years, maybe a generation or two. But they're getting there. But then the weather is not helping them or whatever. So we've got what we have here, but if you're bad for Houston, we got everything we need. We get the money, we get everything. Yeah, the weather is not so great, but if you have enough buildings and pergolas and walkways and covered and building closer a little bit to each other without blocking the sunlight to, like New York valleys, we can still do it. But then you go there to the city hall and then you present something and you get shut down. Nope, we don't need it because
Interesting.
that brings investors in, and that's where we
Because,
have a lot of work.
yeah, they can
Because
just do whatever
I
they
got
want to do.
I got enough money. You live in River Oaks. I got a lot for $5 million. I want to put a junkyard. Well, homeowners might stop you, but nobody else would stop you. You're eccentric enough. You want to do it, you could.
Just go ahead. It just doesn't lend for very friendly society. Of your home is Lebanon. Beirut has all of the little city center downtown, and I don't know this. I've never been to Beirut, but from what I understand, it is a most pleasurable place to be.
And funny, we do have city center, but then the whole city is a city center. So we still
Really?
have that because we want to be like, other cities
Mm-hmm.
like Athens and New York and what we
Okay.
do. But that's busy. And then you just walk over, that's busy area. It's a small country. So we got to use every inch of it. You go to the mountains, these small little villages, and they do have small little areas, cafes on the streets, 2 3 level terraces and looking down at people watching people. It's just, you go home, you'll be sitting at a table, a 20-year-old and a 70-year-old sitting at the same table.
And enjoying each
Keeps
other's
you young.
conversation. It keeps you young.
That's
It
right.
does. What was one of the other cities I wanted to ask you about? I know you like Chicago just because the architecture is traditional and quality. I don't know if that's a word for architecture, but it's just well done in terms of
Well designed.
really.
Well designed without the tchotchkes and all of that. Well designed. Everything is in the right place.
Uh, okay, so Chicago. Oh, I know what I want to ask you about. New York, you have these neighborhoods. You have Little Italy and Chinatown. Those make for such a fun experience.
They do, and that's why, it's because in New York, it had the immigrants harbor
Mm-hmm.
when people would come in, so they all brought in, the Germans, the Italians, the Chinese, everybody brought in their own little towns, and so you would never. That's why you never get bored. I mean, all you have to do is take the metro to this downtown, like the Chinatown, and you can have Chinese from now till you say no more Chinese. You want to go to Little Italy, yeah, and not only that they need it, the whole New York is like this, but then they have little small areas, and that's why you wonder why people, getting into the city cost like back then maybe $28 or $38 for tolls. Getting out of the city is only $12.
But
They just we've got
yeah,
enough here. You can
yeah.
leave now.
Oh, and
Yeah.
they're adding more all the time. But that explains why people want to live in those cities, because once you're down inside them, they're walkable and they're friendly, and you have different food on every corner.
And what would you need a car? What would you need to pollute?
Mm-hmm.
What would you need any car payments or insurance payments? All of that. Yes, you're paying higher rent. You know,
A lot of people talk about that, actually. If you talk to anyone who lives in New York, they'll tell you, yeah, I pay twice as much in rent, but I also don't need a car. I don't need insurance.
no
Uh,
gasoline, no nothing.
yeah.
What do? You want to go fancy place? You rent a car. 29.99 can get you a car. You can go or take an Uber. Yeah, you can't do
Yeah.
that here. I mean, I just went down to Kroger's and I just timed it. You know, really next to the house was what we call it. It's very close. It's 2.25 mile and turn around about 5 miles. That's almost 8 kilometers just to go to the store right here, and literally it's right there.
Well, and it takes 20 minutes to get there and 20 minutes to get back. It makes me want to cry. I can
I mean,
handle traffic. I could drive for days, but sitting at a stoplight when I can see the store, like Target is right there, I could just walk to it. I find it very frustrating. But understandably, Texas is big. It's very big, and
I
it's
mean,
going to be like that.
beautiful, big, and
Yeah,
nice. But and then that's why we go to Austin once in a while, San Antonio. They are attractions.
they are
Uh, and this is
attractions.
a city that I love. It's my city. So when I say something about Houston, I say it out of love, out of compassion that I
Sure,
want it to be there. I
sure.
want to bring it to that level. But one hand can only make that sound. You need both hands. We need people get together to do what we want to do. And developers are really getting the point that they're not building cheap stuff anymore. They're not looking for the building at 20 years only life expectancy. They're looking at 50 and 75 year buildings.
Okay.
City centers. They're not just going to be here for a while and then disappear. And now we're trying to convince clients of ours, developers, to work on reuse. You've got a old shopping center, some, I'm not going to mention names, down there in Sugarland area, huge, and I remember doing it. I got 23-foot ceilings for the small store. Well, so there's the room for us to actually revamp it and maybe put some other function on top, one level more. Where the structure is there, so all you need to do, we have enough parking. So I was just trying to introduce that. So instead of tearing it down or selling it or, you know, dilapidating it, have it just go to hell, you can do something with it. You can just, have some taste and some money thrown on it. And you've got the height, you get the parking. He's got like nine cars to 1,000. All your card is for retail, and then you can have mixed use with restaurants. So we're trying to keep
Make
that thing alive.
make it a destination.
Yes,
Make
make
it
it a destination.
somewhere where families want to go, where there's place for kids to play, and fountains for people to feed the ducks in the pond.
And there is a 3-acre fountain in that place I'm
3
mentioning.
acres.
So
Three acres.
people that are watching this probably know which one I'm talking about. It's a
Really?
great project, and I did it. Gosh, I did it for the Gordon's family, late '90s, and that was like one of my first projects, big project. So I remember that the developer was a visionary. He said, "No, no, let's give it some height, so from the freeway you can see it, and then in case somebody wants to remodel later on, he didn't use the term reuse. They could do that. So imagine that the guy had the vision to do it, so we did it.
So you did it. They didn't tear it down. You actually redid it.
No, I mean right now it's still there, but I can tell that it needs a little push. So I wrote a friend of mine who is the developer, the owner. I said, "Hey, well, what about we do something about it?" He said, "Yeah, not bad. Let me tell my investors and see what they think." So hopefully
Thanks,
we're getting that.
Gus. No, I just really feel like urban design leads to different social interactions. What people in Houston aren't really all that cheerful. They spend a lot of time in their cars. I mean, there are more than a few people that commute 60 to 90 minutes a day. Either
I used to do
way.
it. I
Oh,
used
I
to do
couldn't.
it.
Really?
Yeah, I used to do 45, 50. That's 11 miles down. It's on in the heights. And I used sometimes to leave the house back in early 2000s at 4 a.m., 4:30 a.m., 5 a.m. Doesn't matter. You go there
Wow.
and you get caught in traffic. If there's one accident, it's just traffic jam. I mean, at the end, 11 miles, my gosh, I mean, you could run it in 2 hours.
Well, and
But
what kind of cities really? I mean, 11 miles is just like one section from your house to the Heights. It's all of
and it's
Greater
a straight
Houston.
shot.
It's
It's
right there.
I-10 all the way east. And you hit the heights, you take the Student exit, and that's it. That's my building. It's just frustrating.
Well, and it just doesn't lend itself to easy living. No. Uh, Last question. Tell me, in like Dubai or Abu Dhabi, I know Doha, and we have previously discussed Jeddah, like the old souk areas. Do they incorporate those into their designs, or they just, or there is no old souk area in Dubai? It just
Now,
used to be.
oh, in Dubai. No, in
Well,
Dubai they do have them. They do have them. I don't know much about the urban, heritage culture in Dubai, but in Saudi in Jeddah they have a ministry for that, and a minister of heritage, I think. If maybe I'm mistaken of the name, but they do have that, a huge project, which we attempted to work on, and they have their own typologies, type of architecture. They call them typologies. They have their own typologies, and they have them, I think, in five, six, seven categories, and they are great. They are newly restored. In Bahrain, they have it, so I'm sure they have it in Dubai, but I haven't been to any.
they're not incorporating that into the design of their new cities. I mean, if you're in London, the old parts of London are part of the city. It's not like they go and build it away from everyone else.
Yeah, remember, because in Dubai they left the downtown, the old cities, and they stepped out to make their new cities. So they're brand new cities. That's why you have these vacancies in between to go to the old city. But I'm going to Dubai, honestly, just to see the towers. So I never
Okay.
really. When I went to Jeddah, I mean, they have. I lived on the beach side, so they have nice towers. You walk, you run. I wanted to go see the small, you know, vernacular architecture. Purposely, I drove up there, and I saw it in the middle of being renovated. So, I mean, they have the old wood beams, and the wood beams are really old palm tree trunks.
Wow.
I mean, that's the only tree they had. I mean, it's incredible how
It's like
people
a
will do it.
museum.
Yeah, it's a museum, and you walk in 2, 3 stories out of clay and mud. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how they did it, but as an architect, I mean, I'll just
It
walking.
impresses you.
But it's been there for 100 years, so
It's impressive. Just now, I got one more question. Uh, Asian cities, Beijing, Shanghai, Hong Kong. Is there a city center for Beijing?
yeah, I never been there, but I believe they do have the city centers. Yes, they do have the downtowns. In other words, they do have downtowns.
Kind of the
More
historical areas,
what?
kind of in a historical area that then they build more city around.
I believe so. I believe they
Okay.
started from there and they went to the just immediate outskirts, and they put that belt around it. So they do have. But I haven't been other than Singapore. I haven't been to any other Asian cities.
Some of them are quite intimidating for
Oh yeah.
someone like you who really likes cities.
I mean, in China, I mean, they took it to a whole different level. But these towers, sometimes some architects call them inhumane, because makes when, like Hitler did in his buildings, when he did the buildings, the base of a column on a typical classical column was 6 7 feet, because a person would be 6 foot 5. The base of the column is taller than you, so you're dehumanizing to me. No, it's great, don't get me wrong, and between the plazas and the beautiful shadow, but then
But
you get to the level of you're insignificant next to the 105-story building, or an 818-meter tall Burj Khalifa. What
it's
is that?
surreal.
Multiply that by 3.3, so that's
Wow.
1,500 feet.
Wow. I'm curious yet satisfied, looking from afar via the internet.
Oh, I mean, you see it this big, and the next skyscraper is this tall. It's incredible. It's an experience you gotta see. And the
Wow.
plaza underneath it is very well done. The architecture, the
Oh,
landscaping, gorgeous. Never, I mean, that's one tower, and then all the other towers, 60, 70 stories, they all match, and they're really nice because there are some plazas in between. But again, you're in that area. But if you want to leave to another area, you gotta drive empty. Then you see the Fujairah Beach. I think it's gorgeous, two, three, four stories, and they got the high rises, and they got the beach everywhere. No, no, they did it right. Now, if it's if it's a little bit climate friendly year, it might be different. But again,
I see.
Singapore is climate friendly, but again, it can rain and it can be very muggy and humid because it's tropical weather,
Yes.
and it rains
Yes.
doesn't stop. So
It rains for
everything has
months
its
at a
own.
time.
Right.
Months at a time. Oh, Gus, I love talking to you. I'm going to collect another year's worth of questions and then we'll do this again.
All right. Well, thank
Thank
you,
you so
Deanna, for
much.
having me. Thank
I
you.
appreciate the conversation. You have a good night and big hug to all the members of your family.
All right. Thank you. You too.
Thanks. Bye bye. See ya.